Aren Bahia, is that how you say it?
You got it.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for coming to the studio, man. Hey, thanks for coming in to the humble villa studio. I came across your Instagram a couple of years ago. I was probably a couple of years ago. Yours is Ink Pray Love. Is that the thing?
Ding. Yeah.
Because I was looking for tattoo studio at the time, and I came across your profile. I started following you because you seem like a interesting character and doing some cool entrepreneurial projects, which obviously I relate to as an entrepreneur. But I also noticed that you do a lot of community things in Bali, and it's obvious to me that you are somebody of high values, right? So I assume that is the case. So I acknowledge you for that, first of all. So first of all, off the bat, what are you known for? What are you known for?
I guess I'd be known for obviously tattoos.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks I'm a tattoo artist, and I'm not. Everyone's like, I want a tattoo from you, and I'm like, no, you don't. I promise. I'm horrible at tattooing. I've tried it once. It's bad. But building the business, building tattoo shops was something I was passionate about. Doing the charity outreach work here in Bali has been fun. It's been something that I really thought was worth it. Building businesses here is a tricky thing. It's not like building businesses anywhere else. It's the wild Southeast Asia or whatever you call it. It's a tricky place to do things.
Yeah.
The charity aspect really tied it all together. My first business out here was a bed and breakfast. And I realized I didn't give a fuck about beds or breakfasts. I was like, it didn't sing to my heart.
Yeah.
I became an Airbnb superhost.
Yeah.
So did it. It worked. It made money. It was all right. But I just wasn't stoked on it. And we started tattooing out of the bed and breakfast.
So you already had all the tattoos at that time, or is that you from the studio?
Well, no. Well, a bit of both. I had a full bodysuit in Canada. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. And I was in this kickboxing culture there. All the guys at the gym had lots of tattoos. And whoever had more tattoos was kind of like the status thing. And I was very much so wanting to be the king of the jungle and wanting to have lots of tattoos. But also, I covered them up. So you couldn't tell. If I wore a t-shirt and jeans, you couldn't tell I had any tattoos, but I was suited out. So it was a fun way I liked it, so I wouldn't be a bit too much. And then when I came out here, I was like, well, I'll never work for anyone again. I'll always be wanting to work for myself. So I was like, I can get as many tattoos as I want.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, what's really interesting about that is, I've got tattoos, and I guess there's this old school kind of mindset that still exists. If you've got tattoos, it's like, you're a rebel and you're nobody of substance. And, I kind of look at you and go, it's just, it doesn't make you any different. Right. And like you said, being an entrepreneur, you can, it's your artwork, right? It's just an expression of everything that you are.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your businesses here in Bali. What have you built, and how did you get to that point?
Well, after the bed and breakfast, I went to India. So a little backstory before the first business. I went to India, and the lease was running out on the first tattoo shop, or the first bed and breakfast. And I was like, okay, I need to do something. But I made friends with the local tattoo boys here, and they tattooed me. I did a couple sleeves with them. We became close. They were my first friends in Bali, were the local tattoo guys. And I realized that they were freelancing and they needed a shop to do that. We were tattooing out of the kitchen table inside the bed and breakfast. And that started making more money than the actual bed and breakfast. I was in the community, making friends, going to community events, and I was just the tattoo guy. People knew me to get tattoos through. And I was like, yeah, come to the villa. We'll tattoo at the villa.
So you're a tattoo broker.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Exactly. And people just they felt safe around that environment. So they trusted it, and we started getting a name for ourselves. When I went to India, I went to a meditation retreat, and I was like, what do I do now? And it was an insanely hard meditation retreat. It was my first one. And so it was really challenging for me. It was just the dietary restrictions.
Had you done any of that kind of practice before, or was that like throwing yourself in the deep end?
I was on the baby steps level of it. I was meditating 5 to 20 minutes a day at that point, using Headspace app. I was really new in the game. I went to this meditation retreat, jumped into the deep end. It's like, don't eat meat, don't swear, don't masturbate. And I was like, but I love all those things
at the same time.
Good times. But anyways, I had the idea, okay, open up a tattoo shop that gives back to the island, and some sort of altruistic endeavors go through this shop, carry a better product ink than anyone else's. The shop's in Ubud. It's a very big yoga culture, vegan culture. So I was like, vegan tattoo ink it was a new product at the time, fairly new. And so I was like, great, we'll have something that no one else really has on the market. We have great artists, and the shop isn't going to be a scary tattoo shop because a lot of the other shops in the area were a little bit intimidating.
Yeah.
We painted our Sprite pink, like dragon fruit color.
Yeah.
So it was like something different right off the bat. We started giving back to charity. So Conscious Arts Tattoo Shop instantly became the most popular tattoo shop in Ubud. I was the only foreigner-owned tattoo shop.
Yeah. I've got some Conscious Arts.
Yeah, there you go.
Here, so, yeah.
Thanks for supporting. And we started giving back to School for Mentally Disabled Balinese Children. We partnered with them as soon as we opened.
Yeah.
So since we've been open, we've been funding the School for Mentally Disabled Balinese
Yeah.
kids. And I think, all the other aspects of the business were important to hit, like great product, great artists.
Yeah.
Our advertisement was different than anyone else. So we were just new on the market. There's nothing else like us there. So it was a safe place for people to come get tattooed, especially like green juice drinking hippie yogis, which I love. And it was like, let's cater to those ones because that's the big market there was. Something for them to come feel safe.
Yeah.
And the give back though. And so when people saw
so
that.
was the give back part of the initial mission as you were kind of creating the business?
Yeah.
You had that embedded in there.
Yeah, it was in that meditation retreat. I'm supposed to be meditating. I had like a straight up download, and it was like, if you build a business that has a karmic impact, you're going to be successful and you'll be happy. Because I did enough things for money that I made good money, but I wasn't really like.
So
myself.
You hadn't had businesses before?
Kind of.
Yeah,
kind of. Yeah. I did a bunch of different things in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Some, I grew up in a rough area. A lot of the guys that I grew up around were into some pretty not very legal things, and it was.
So you had some entrepreneurial gifts.
Yes.
Which may have stemmed from not so legal things.
Recreational pharmacy.
Okay.
And it was really like that's the area I grew up in. That was the business culture in which I grew up in. But then I went into real estate development, and I liked building. That's what I was excited about. Was like seeing something in my head and then going and building it. And that was more fun than maintaining it, to be honest. I'm not a good manager.
So you like the creative part.
I love that. That makes me thrive, right? So Conscious Arts instantly became the most successful shop in Ubud. I opened up another one called Conscious Arts, Karma House, right after that, 6 months after, because I needed a bigger studio. We were so booked out, I just needed to build something else. But the vision behind it was, I just wanted to do things that I thought were fun.
Yeah.
So the studio was a yoga studio upstairs, and we wanted the space to be for personal development courses and classes. I was super into that. It helped me really shift from that old lifestyle into the new one of conscious business. So Karma House was like a superfoods cafe, a tattoo shop, community center hangout space, and like a studio upstairs for courses, classes, dance courses, classes, all sorts of things. So it was just fun to hang out.
So here's a question. I mean, Ubud, Bali already had an enormous amount of those kind of things, right? Mm-hmm. Already has all the super healthy cafes. It has the places for yoga and tattoo shops, and it has all these things already. Mm-hmm. So what do you think was the energy that you kind of brought to this business that became magnetic, that you were doing different to anybody else?
I think it was really like how I felt about spirituality. And it's like, I love tattoos. I love spirituality, personal development, yoga, meditation. I was really into that, still am, and bringing people together. So a lot of separate businesses had those things, but not the tattoo culture bridged into spirituality. So I kind of thought of it as like edgy spirituality. Yeah. We were kind of like the black sheep of a bunch of families, and we went on our spiritual path. Went to find ourselves, realized we didn't quite fit in with a lot of people where we grew up from, but there's other people like us. Yeah. And that's what drove me about it, was like, I was that kid and I don't really fit in anymore with where I came from, but there's more people out there like that, but I can't forget where I came from. Yeah. So it was a bit bold.
So here's a question for you. So obviously in Bali and Ubud, there's this spiritual, there's a lot of spirituality, right? But there's a lot of people that are kind of living in the clouds. Right, they're just kind of, it's, very fluffy kind of spirituality, and it becomes their identity and it becomes their ego. And one thing I'm super interested about, for myself and for entrepreneurs, because I think everybody should be tapping into whatever version of spirituality is for them. But I think for a lot of people, they kind of look at spiritual people and go, that's a bit fluffy, that's woo-woo, that's weird. But that's the spirituality that kind of gets portrayed, right? But the most spiritual people that I know, you would never know are spiritual because they're not trying to be seen as being spiritual, right? So there's kind of this almost misconception around spirituality, and you seem to have found your way of bridging those worlds, right? Where you're obviously spiritual, but it's not a weird kind of spiritual, and you kind of talk very openly about this. How do you explain that? And the second part of that is how can people find that for themselves?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, Jesus and Buddha were bad motherfuckers. They weren't just like fluffy people. Like they were hardcore and rolling with prostitutes and, you know, meditating for days and almost dying. Like they were hardcore people. They weren't just, you know, like that. That's not the role that they were playing, you know. And it takes a bit of extreme authenticity to actually be spiritual. If it's not authentic, it's not spiritual.
Yeah.
So, dude, I did it all. I when I first came to Bali, I went full hippie. Like I grew a fucking beard. I was wearing parachute pants. I went to every cacao ceremony possible. I was at ecstatic dance. I did everything I thought was spiritual.
Yeah.
Trying to swing from the rough area I came from, you know, gangster tendencies, lifestyle, to wanting to be super hippie spiritual, maybe change my name to fucking Lotus Wolf or something. Like I went there, and I realized that was just as inauthentic as it was living a rough lifestyle that was producing negative karma. Then I realized there was a middle path in that was actually, hey, you came from a rough area, but you're real and you have a good heart. And that's when I realized spirituality for me was people who are living like they're just being a good person. Like it doesn't matter what you believe in or, you know, what faith, all that, but are you just doing good things? Are you producing kindness? You know, are you living in compassion and love and actually just doing good things, like being a good dude? Yeah. And that was like, okay, that can be spirituality for me. And that's what it meant to me, because I didn't quite fit in with a lot of like the overly religious things, or seeing the ubud fluffy spiritual cloud that people put around everything that just sound like such bullshit to me. And I couldn't suffer the fools in that situation. I was just like, no, that's kind of bullshit. Because where I came from, people were, you know, had big fake boobs and Louis Vuitton purses, and, you know, guys look like those type of dudes, and that's a mask. Yeah. You know? And then you go here and it's just like you glitter on everything and, you know, feathers in your hair. I'm like, that's also a mask. And I saw both ends because I experienced both ends.
So it's almost like these polarizing opposites, right? It's like you've come from this gangster world, as you call it, and then almost going to the polar extreme opposite side of that to kind of find what your balance is, what your middle ground is.
I'm super grateful for that, to see both ends and to see the parallels in them both. Yeah. To realize, actually the most spiritual people I know that I really resonate with are just real. Yeah. And so the more spiritual you get, the more real you are. The more you take responsibility for your actions, the more accountable you are, the less you fluff up things. Yeah. And the spiritual people, like in my perspective, the spiritual people I really get with are they're pretty funny. Like they're actually so hardcore that they're funny. Yeah. And I find humor in being able to practice spirituality with people. They're lighthearted, they're joyous. You know, it's not all just, but they can actually, you can hang like. Yeah, I love Russell Brand. He's hilarious, and he's gone through his journey.
And he's got a very deep, resonating message.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what Karma House was about. We're inked out yogis, and we want to be bringing spirituality to people that might have had a stigma around it. That have been like, oh, it's a bunch of bullshit. Oh, da, da, da. It's like, no, we can be real, and we're just being happier, more capable human beings, and we're able to connect deeper and just have a better grasp of reality is what I wanted. So that's where we're at with it.
And then now there's the latest venture, which is Yogi Lab, right? Yeah. And you run that out of the Astana. So tell us a little bit about the Astana. Astana's got a great reputation. If you're ever in Bali, tell us about the practices that you guys do there.
Yeah, cool. My business partner, Dave, who I met in a hot tub on my birthday 3 years ago. It was hilarious. And we just, you know, you meet somebody and you're just like, we're supposed to be friends. And we just ended up now partners in three different ventures. And we're just like, we're going to do stuff together. He was a meditation teacher. At the time I was teaching yoga in the prisons, and he wanted to start teaching meditation in the prisons too. And we're like, hey, let's see what we can do together. He started teaching me meditation, and I was able to deepen my practice because of all the time he's put on the clock. He's just been helping me out. So it's great to have like a meditation teacher, best buddy. It's like, good for you. Everybody should do it. But so he opened the Astana, and I didn't know that it's an incredible property. You've been there. It's a cliffront luxury meditation retreat center, an epic place for us.
Overlooking the surf at Uluwatu.
Yeah. Best sunsets I've seen in Bali. Yeah. And it's just a great space to practice, connect. It's an alcohol-free site. It's just there for you to relax and take care of yourself, take care of your body, drop into meditation, drop into practice. We have lots of retreats, not during COVID time, but usually we had like the Marcel Hoff event, where it was a big breathwork retreat. Now there's an online course for that. People can practice at home. Yeah. That's super full power. the whole emphasis on that is that's a space for us to practice. And Yogi Lab is the online company that all the courses and classes that we want to do, that we try and that we know actually work, because we've done them, the stuff that we want to do. And okay, it works. We're going to put a course out for it so everyone can tell that, hey, we've tested this.
And what I love about it is this is, to my observation of that's really bridging the gap towards, the spiritual realm for people, to make it really accessible and easy and not weird. And it's more about the, looking after your health and biohacking, but it's kind of like a gateway, right? It's kind of like opening the door to more spiritual practice, and the more you can drop into that. So it's not about trying to be spiritual. It's about just embedding practices and rituals into your life. And then, by virtue of that, it's like, that's how you tap into whatever your version of spirituality is.
Yeah, exactly. You could just, even if it's not spirituality, you become a happier person. Isn't that what we all want, right? I just want to be more capable and effective and happy. In all the businesses we do, all the work we do, doesn't always make us happier. It doesn't always make us more stress-free. It just adds more stuff to our plate. We're like, fuck, we can't manage it because we're just adding more things, but not having the bandwidth to be capable enough to like manage the stress that comes with the things. And that's where I was coming in, where I was just adding more things. And I was like, shit, I might not be emotionally intelligent enough to handle them all. So I started doing the work. And then when Dave came up and he was like, hey, we should start a business out of this. I had this idea, Yogi Lab. We want to be a partner in it. And I'm like, I was burnt out because I just built Karma House. And if you ever if you build something in Indonesia, be prepared to like detach from budgets and deadlines. And you're gonna be super stressed because it's like, it's not an easy route. Nothing is actually for sure. A yes is a maybe and a no is a fuck no out here, right? And so when he told me that, he's like, do you want to take on another project? We'll build this business together. And I was like, no, like I'm burnt out. Like I can't do it right now. He's like, it'll help you become superhuman. And I was like, yeah, right. Cool. I want to be a superhuman.
So let's talk about that, because one of my biggest things, and the reason for me doing this podcast and the way that I live my life now is, my whole life now is about sharpening the axe, right? It's like the more I can drop into allowing myself the stillness and to go surfing and, go to the gym every day. I'm doing cold plunges and saunas and I'm doing all this kind of stuff. And if I kind of count it throughout the whole week, I'm probably doing more of that than I am work. But I'm able to, there's a couple of things that happen out of that is I'm definitely sharper. Like when I'm in my mode of I need to get shit done, like I'm just far more focused. I can get shit done. But also what that kind of makes me tap into is a new level, like a new paradigm of thinking, in that my priorities are that I have to look after my body first. I'm not going to, that has to be a priority. And what that allows me to do is think, okay, well, how can I create all these things? How can I make things move around me instead of me being the one to move, right? But I had my first business when I was 8, right? And I've hustled my whole life until 5 years ago. So my journey has been, it took me a long time to figure out what works, right?
What were you doing at 8?
I was cleaning boats in Sydney Harbour.
That's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
But for you, it seems like you've been able to tap into that at a very kind of early stage of your entrepreneurial journey, right? And so share some insights around that. Like, how important do you think that is? And how can entrepreneurs, business leaders, how can they find more of that? Like, how can they tap into that? Because it's very easy to get addicted to the hustle, especially when you're actually creating and you're getting results, right? It's like if you're making money and the more you work, like you're getting financial results, and you can keep it going. Like you can keep the energy up a little bit, but at some point it's like you're going to hit a ceiling or you're going to burn out or something's going to happen. How can people tap into that?
Yeah, no. Well, one thing I'll correct you there is I haven't been doing it since early on. I had a habit of working super hard, burning out, healing for a little while, being useless, working super hard, burning out. And I know a lot of people have that, right? It's ding, 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 ding. And it was just, I just got tired of it because I was really realizing it was taking me way too long to actually get things done and recover, and the emotional and mental mood swings that come with, not feeling productive. You need healing time. And as like a super like get shit done type of mentality guy, it would put me in like a spiral. where I'm like, no, I need to heal my adrenals right now because I've been smashing 3 coffees a day for 6 months straight, plus pre-workouts, plus this, plus that, not healthy. And so just now recently, I've been seeing the holistic way is the way to go. And a lot of the most successful people in the world are doing exactly that. They're healing a bit more and then using their focused time in a healthy and like holistic way. Like they're just not piling everything on. And now I've been trying that.
Yeah.
And noticing I'm having a better baseline of it because health is just so important. We can do that maybe in our early 20s, but I'm in my early 30s and I'm paying for it now because I was just going too hard then. So it's like I want sustainable growth and health. So everything I'm doing now is for like longevity. Like I can be enough without caffeine. As you were saying, my mantra, my affirmation.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah. You're enough without caffeine. You're enough without caffeine. But just to be able to actually see that you have it in you and there's raw talent and you can bring your raw talent in even if you're a bit tired. So if it means just being a little bit less than go, super go, but working smart. And that's what it's all about now is working smart, not hard. And that means taking care of your body and especially your mental health.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us can look like jacked, shredded Terminators, but up here, you're feeble.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and also, very weak because that becomes the addiction and the identity and that becomes what's most important rather than flexibility.
I had that, dude.
Yeah.
I had that at 25.
So
I was using steroids. I was 108 kilos or something. I was big for my frame, and I just thought I looked amazing. I thought I was in the best shape of my life. You know, I look back at those photos now, I was just, but I was an idiot. Like,
I'm happy for you that you figured that out at such a young age because, I mean, for me, I was doing that for a long time. And my neck and my back and for a long time, I struggled and suffered. And it's only when I stopped doing that, started focusing on yoga, Pilates, flexibility, and kind of drop all that nonsense around, I still want to be big. I still feel like this masculine desire to want to have muscles. Right?
No, me too.
But now I've found a way that I can, that middle ground where I'm healthy. Yeah. So the thing you're talking about before about, finding, so the thing I'm hearing there is, well, the thing I don't like people talking about is balance, right? Because talking about balance inherently says you're trying to fix something, right? Something's out of balance. Like what you were saying before, it's like you're going hard and then you've got to go into a healing mode, right? So it's this constant battle of, success and then fix yourself.
Yeah.
Success, then fix yourself. And the way I feel about it now is it's like I'm successful all the time and I feel fulfilled all the time. And I also have this greater capacity probably to rein in what's most important to me and say no to things and not get, shiny object syndrome and all that, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one big thing that I've found that made me a better person or more successful was saying no to more things.
Yeah.
Because when I first came to Bali, like I said, I was saying yes to everything, which was important for me to maybe widen my character, experience more things, know what works and what doesn't. So it's important to say yes to a bunch of stuff at the start, but then when you refine yourself and you realize what it takes to actually, in my case, what it took to actually be successful was saying no to so many things and so many people and just working on what works because I didn't have enough energy and bandwidth for it all. So I had to prioritize what does work and what doesn't. And then it's my mental health, my personal growth and my businesses were priority. I have to handle those. And then also, those close social networks, 1 or 2 really good friends that we end up working together now too. So it's great. Ticks off a couple boxes. So you just hang out with those guys and make stuff work. And then all the other external periphery things, because I was saying yes to the whole gamut and I wasn't getting shit done. Mm-hmm. And that's a common thing here in the spiritual community. A lot of people that want to get shit done, they want to do projects, but they spend all day in a cafe, 3-hour conversations, just hang.
8-minute hugs.
Yes. That's time consuming.
It is. Yeah.
And they're floating around and I could see it's you need to be able to say no to more things.
Yeah.
But I found it as a addiction to that little top up of validation here, validation there, Instagram validation there, and it's just sucking attention away. And one big saying no is to the validation.
Yeah.
And you could say no to the coffees and that stuff and stuff that's maybe producing the swings, but you say no to the validation, you can just say yes to a bit of that more hard work. I found that was important. So just to work hard in spurts. And that was one thing I needed to get used to and still do now, because procrastination is just so fucking easy.
Yeah.
And just be like, if you work hard now for a couple of hours and just get it done, you have more time later just to hang. So it's like lean into resistance.
So if there's entrepreneurs out there who are kind of struggling with this a little bit, and they feel called to pursue this spirituality, looking after themselves more, but they're kind of stuck in this loop of chasing the tails of busyness.
Yeah.
What's the most powerful number one thing that they could do?
I mean, start with such an easy, basic thing. Like, that's exactly it. It's like, you don't need to jump into the deep end of things, because it's not super sustainable, not all the time. I mean, the easy shit is just meditating and using one of those little apps. Like Insight Timer, great app. Easy, and I get off on that. Like, it's like, it'll show how many days in a row I've meditated. So I've meditated every day this year so far. I'm at 196 days today, and I'm like, great. That streak makes me feel good, and it strings my ego chords, because I'm like, I don't want to lose that streak, so I'm going to keep doing it. And a lot of motivated entrepreneurs like those like key performance indicators and whatever. They just want to make sure that they're performing, and
I'm exactly like that.
Track
everything.
Track it. If you don't plan it, you're not going to get it done. So it's like, actually plan your spiritual success. Which seems a bit like,
I know.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
But it's true, because if you're not going to plan to spiritually succeed in life, it's easy to fall to the wayside. So if you plan, you want to read one good book on some sort of esoteric thing each month, which is one book a month, you can do that. You want to meditate every day for a small amount of time, you can do that. Make a plan with yourself that, like, hey, I want to be a deeper spiritual person in whatever way that looks like to you, and then just plan it out and then stick to it. And then it actually works. But if you're just kind of like, I'll do it someday, it's not the same.
Yeah. And one of my observations of people like yourself, and I know this to be true for me, and a lot of people I associate with now, is people who look after themselves and look after that side of their life. They tend to be more comfortable with who they are, more authentic, and then they show up in the world with a greater power, which then has them have the ability to attract probably opportunities and projects which they're more aligned to. So to unravel this idea of, go, build, actually, if you kind of just unravel that a little bit and spend the time meditating, looking after yourself, tapping into your greater self, you'll probably find that you'll see opportunities and a vision for yourself that you never even saw before, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this might sound a little esoteric, but I do believe like the universe will reward you for working on yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna reflect outwards. That's gonna be like a Wi-Fi router of you're doing good. You're doing good with yourself. So then you're gonna spread that to everybody around you, and they're all gonna get service. They're all gonna feel good about that. And that's what happened to me. I came out here. I didn't know anyone. I came here by myself. I had a girlfriend at the time. She came with me. It didn't work out. She went back. And I was just here alone, but I made enough friends. But I chose when I came here to want to just be a good person. Like, that was it. Mm-hmm. I wanted to have a shift what the stigma was around me in my neighborhood of being a rough dude and this and that. It's like, no, I'm going to come out here and be a loving, kind, compassionate individual. I started the meditation practice. I started down the path, and I just made a switch of like, do good shit, be a better person. And then I started meeting.
It's pretty simple, right?
That's it. Just do good shit. You don't need to, prostrate. You don't need to do all these other things. Just do good shit. And I just decided that's what I want to do now. And it was that easy just to make a decision. And then I started making better friends. So a good thing to help people on their spiritual path is make some good friends, like people that are actually going to be there and, maybe know some more than you in that light. Make a spiritual friend, and, somebody that you can jam with, that you can fuck around with, that you can really get along with. So when me and Dave got really close, the owner of the Astana and my partner in Yogi Lab and in Karma House and in another property company, it's just like, we just realized we're like, hey, we can go down that path and we can relate to each other, and then we can help each other along the way. And it makes so much, the Buddha had his Sangha. You need to have a spiritual community. It helps so much than just doing it alone. So if you want to get down a spiritual path, make some spiritual friends. Yeah. And people that you don't think are lame.
Yeah. They don't have to be weird spiritual people.
No. Cool. There's lots of cool spiritual people. Spirituality's trending right
cool.
now.
Yeah,
cool.
There you
go. There's actually lots of people out there today, in 2020 that are tapped in, wanting to dive in, wanting to read books, wanting to work on themselves. Personal development is now like cool. My dad was like, he came out here to visit me, and I'm like, I got a bunch of books if you want to read. And he's like, oh, what are they, personal development? And my dad's like, like that, the mentality in that generation were just a little bit like, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And now we're like, no, I'm just trying to make more right with me. I just want to be a sharper, happier person.
Yeah.
I don't have to drink every night because I'm upset.
Yeah.
That's it.
So tell us some of your practices. You were telling me before, you were joking about yourself before with this affirmation for no coffee. Yeah. So you're on some kind of cleanse at the moment. Yeah. Tell us about that. And is this something you go through regularly? Tell us about some of those things and why you do that.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, the cleanse thing was just like, hey, I felt like I could, my energy, it was the coffee thing, because I love coffee, and I was just drinking a little bit too much, and I could tell my adrenals were not where they should be. And I was having the crashes and this and that. I felt like maybe I wasn't feeling as powerful as I usually do. So I just went and got some checkups at BSI by Dr. Joe here in Bali. And he was just like, you need to relax your adrenal systems. You need to really cultivate some better health. Living in Indonesia, you need to do a cleanse like once a year or something would really help your body out. So go for it. It's just like, it's something I'm not going to shy away from. It's uncomfortable because it's like no coffee, no sugar, no cacao.
For how long?
43 days.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm on day like 13 or 14.
Is there a reason for 43 days?
Something about some of his medical mumbo jumbo. I just said, yes, sir. Okay, I'll do it. He gives me a bunch of herbs and roots, and I'm doing all this like herb stuff, and I'm cutting out all the fun stuff that I thought was really fun out of my diet. I'm just on like, eat seaweed. You're like, seaweed. Just like, eat greens, and it's great. Actually, I feel better now than I used to. But when I was joking around when we were doing our mic check of like my affirmation, because it's like, check your mic, and I'm like, I'll be an articulate human being without caffeine. I'll be a capable individual without coffee. And I'm just saying that to myself because of the habit pattern I had of like, before I wanted to do something like this, talk to someone or, get some work done, it's like, have a coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm just unpacking and unraveling that addiction. Those like that neural pathway of like, I need this to do this.
Yeah.
And actually we don't. Raw talent. And you can just bring that up as like, I can write this copy I need to write without it. I just need to sit there and actually realize that I'm writing the copy, not the caffeine.
And what's really interesting about that is the more that you do these things, kind of break your own paradigms around, what you thought you could or you couldn't do. It's like you open up a doorway for like, well, if I can do that, then I can do anything. It's like, people say all the time, it's like, oh, you do intermittent fasting, you don't eat till 2 p.m. It's like, I couldn't do that. It's like, well, I couldn't do that once upon a time.
Yeah.
Like I can go 7 days without food. It's like, that once upon a time would have seemed like a miracle. But when you can do those kind of things, it's just it's something happens where it opens up a gateway to just bigger possibilities.
Yeah.
And not just for your health and not just those small things, but you can tap into like a greater version of yourself because like you break the paradigm, you start thinking differently.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's a funny thing about that because we have limiting beliefs around it because it's like, oh, I might not be enough for these things. And I was, complaining about this today with my business partner who I've mentioned a few times now. And he brought up this concept of like whaling and sharking. Because I always thought of myself as a shark where I'd be constantly wanting to swim forward to grow. And if I'm not swimming forward, I'd be suffocating. And it's that. And he's like, well, that takes a lot of energy. And he's like, but you can just whale, you can just filter feed. And a lot of some aspects of what I do can just be a whale. I can just whale it. I don't need to be a shark with that intensity. I can just whale my way through it, even if I'm feeling a bit tired, even if I'm not feeling like totally motivated. And the listeners here are going to be motivated people. If you're listening to a podcast and you're probably a go-getter, you probably have that mentality, and already right there, not to sound arrogant, but I mean, you're probably mentally a bit tougher than a huge percent of the population because you're going and getting it. So you have the ability to whale instead of sharking.
Yeah.
So you are enough already. You have that raw talent or that motivation to just whale. You can do this. You can do things without needing that little extra. You already having the mindset to do the work is more powerful than a lot of people around you. Not everybody wants to go and get it.
Yeah. So tell us about some of your other practices, your other tools for success. Whatever you do day to day, week to week, some of your rituals.
I've been really geeking out on that Marcel Hoff method practice that we have on Yogi Lab, the online one. That's also a plug. Everyone can get it online at yogilab.com.
Yogilab.com.
But no, that one's awesome. I do it every morning, and I do the 50 breath 2 times, and it's just like a holotropic breathing type breath hold 2 times, and I do it in bed, and then I meditate. And it's just like, it clears me out.
Straight after waking up?
Yeah. I'll wake up, It's either wake up, do that, or wake up, cold shower, get back into my meditation seat.
Is there such a thing as a cold shower in Bali?
Yeah, but there's not much hot showers where I live. And so I'll have that. And it's like I'll clear myself out. So it's just like the cobwebs that I have around me, I can just get it out, and then I'll sit into better meditation practice so I won't fall asleep earlier on. So it's a bit of a jolt.
Yeah.
And then I get into meditation. It's a bit of like a bit cheating because you're supposed to meditate without any external things, but I feel like the breath work really primes me and dials me in and clears out just mental cobwebs. And then I sit, I have a meditation practice, 30 minutes to an hour in the morning, depending on how busy I am. And then I like to go for a run, 20 minutes. Around 20 minutes, just around the Bingin area where I live in Uluwatu, Bali. And so that run really helps though, because now when learning more about my health, it's like I need to shake up my lymphatic system in the morning. That bouncing on the concrete actually is shaking me up, and it's good for my liver. I wasn't very nice to my liver in my early 20s. So I'm like, hey buddy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the drugs, all of them. I'm sorry. And I'm here for you. And I'm running, and I'm like saying that to myself, actually, like I'm actually running, and I'm like, this is good for you. Body, I love you. It's a bit of like a funny, cheesy, positive self-talk. But I find when I'm looking at the foods in this diet that I have to have right now to cleanse myself, when I tell myself it's good for me, and I'm actually like, I ate like 4 cups of seaweed last night. Like, I'm not even kidding. I went to a sushi place. I can't have raw fish. It's a parasite cleanse as well. Yeah. So I'm like, I'll crush seaweed, and I'm eating the seaweed with joy because I'm like, this seaweed's so good for me right now. It's a superfood. Because it says in my booklet, it's a superfood. I'm like, it's a fucking superfood. And I'm like eating all this seaweed.
Superfood doesn't have to taste good.
Yeah, it actually did taste pretty good. But that was like, when I framed it that way, that like, this is good for me, the energy around it changed. I was happily to do these things that I hated running. Bro, I grew up the fat kid. I had asthma. I had braces. I had glasses. I was super overweight. I was the slowest runner every single year in every single fucking class.
You think that's why you turned a little bit rebellious?
Like, yeah, definitely. I was bullied. I was bullied in high school.
That was your coping mechanism.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Then I wanted to be a tough kickboxer because I wasn't that kid. So then reframing it, now I hated running for a really long time because I was like a little bit traumatized from like my younger years playing baseball and being super slow at running. I could even hit almost a home run, but I'd still get out at second base because I'd just be such a slow runner. So it's embarrassing. And so I had this thing around running and just mentally reframing it, the things in my practice now. I meditate because it's going to make me happier. I sit and meditate. I'm like, this is good for you. This is you loving yourself. Okay, you're going to go for this run. You run. This is good for your body. This is good for you. You're loving yourself. You're going to eat this seaweed. You're not overly excited about it, but this is good for you. And I tell myself, like, this is good for you. And it's been a huge thing. So it's these positive little mental affirmations that make everything better.
Yeah.
It's almost a placebo effect, but it's not because it's real. So it's just like, reframe it. And that's a part of the practice as well as positive self-talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about what's your philosophy on diet. You were telling me before your number one goal for today is eat some lamb. But you are about to go into a 10-day Vipassana.
Yeah.
What's your philosophy around diet, eating meat, etc.? Because obviously, in the worlds that we live in, there's a lot of veganism. There's a lot of people who are vegetarian, and there's a lot of thoughts around eating meat and what you should and shouldn't do.
Yeah, totally.
What's your philosophy? What works best for you?
Yeah. I'd say what works best for me right now is actually being like an omnivore, like having a bit of everything in moderation.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to really stay away from my focus is like make sure it's organic, make sure it's try to anything that's meat, want to be like the most organic, ethically grown if possible, or pasture fed. There's a free range, the good one. Try to be as healthy as possible, and no fast food, no fried stuff, no sugars. I'm just really like trying to cleanse out things and follow what's good for my blood type.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the ethical standpoint of it. And I know when I go deeper into meditation, vegetarianism is the better route. Veganism especially is the better route for higher spiritual aspects. I found difficulty in that when I'm trying to also still run multiple businesses.
And want to go to the gym.
Train 4 days a week, run 3 days a week, do yoga 2 days a week, kickbox 1 day a week. It's just like my body, I was noticing feeling really weak while I was doing it. And I have some really beautiful vegan friends that are like, you need to take supplements, you need to do those things because I consulted them, but they're just not easily available here in Bali. It's just difficult to do it. And when I tried it, I got super skinny and I didn't quite feel as effective or powerful. And I was okay. So right now I'm doing mostly eggs, and then a couple days a week I'll have some meat with it. But only what's in that diet plan. And lamb is one thing that is okay for my blood type, and it works out. So I was like, okay, today, before I go into this meditation retreat, a couple days before, because I'll be vegan for 10 days, 11 days straight during the meditation retreat, this Vipassana retreat we're doing at the Astana. I was like, today I'm gonna eat lamb. I was just excited about this. Lamb's gonna be good for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some organic, I'm gonna get some locally grown lamb, and I'm just gonna have a good lamb dish, and that's gonna be good. And it's a big difference when I eat that after I feel great, rather than if I ate, fried chicken from the chicken shop up the street. It's like I feel horrible after I eat that,
Yeah.
So I know now if I eat the things that are just quality, I feel good after I eat them. So that thing, the meditation retreat, we're doing, I think, the Oshawa number 7 diet during the meditation retreat. So this is have you heard of it?
No.
Yeah, it's like it's like a brown rice and sesame oil and sea salt diet for 10 days straight.
Yeah.
And you only do that. I think it's supposed to be for 7, but we'll do it for 10 days straight. And it cleans all your digestive system out. It just clears you out, and you actually feel pretty yang after.
Yeah.
Like it's just a cleansing thing, and all that rice just like scrubs you out, scrubs out the pipe cleaner, and you do that. You only eat that. It's a mono diet. Wow. You only eat that. I've done it before, and it was great. Like actually, the first couple of days, you're like, "Fuck, I want something else," and you're like a little bit upset about it. But after a while, afterwards, you just feel cleaner. You just feel lighter, and your body just feels good. So we're gonna do that with the meditation, the full-on Vipassana meditation retreat, and see how that goes.
Yeah,
it's a big experiment, and it's just for our Yogi Lab crew. We just love experimenting together.
And you've done many Vipassanas, right? Yeah.
This will be my 7th.
Yeah.
This will be my 7th one, and I did a Tibetan Buddhist meditation retreat as well as a Zen Buddhist one, just to try some other stuff too, and those were fun. So this will be like 9th or something, a bunch of silent retreats, but this is going to be a different Vipassana retreat because we're doing it at the Astana. Dave's teaching; he's a Vipassana teacher, and we're going to be leading it. We'll have all the biohacking facilities available for us, so it's going to be like luxury Vipassana. Awesome. Yeah. So that'll be cool. I'm going to be doing float tanks. I'm going to be doing cryotherapy, hyperbaric chambers. We got the cold plunge, hot plunge, sauna, steam. So it's like luxury Vipassana. Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
That's cool. I mean, the thing about Vipassana is it's so easy to kind of look at that and go, that is so extreme. That is so over the top. Like I could never do that. And it's something that I definitely want to do. Yeah. Definitely want to do someday. I mean, the extremes that I've been to is probably with diet and cleansing, but on the meditation stuff, that's one thing I want to take to another level. Sure,
that's one thing I'd highly recommend. Like I was talking about, the jumping off the deep end, but just going and doing a retreat, because you'll learn the technique in its totality in a retreat, rather than going in the baby steps. You're just pushed into it and you're going to learn it.
Yeah, and
it's fucking hard. You go to these retreats and it's just like 10 hours a day of meditation. You're up at 4:30. You're silent the whole time. You're might not be eating what you want to be eating. You're intermittent fasting. Like there's a lot of stressors, and it's like a psychic surgery. But there's something to be said about hormesis. Like you're putting yourself in a difficult situation. You're tempering the steel. You're gonna come out ahead. You go and put in the effort. You're gonna come out ahead. You're gonna come out a stronger human being. You're gonna come out better.
Yeah.
So going to those, I've gone in with intentions a few times, and I came out with business plans. I've came out with just like clarity. I've came out with just like, you do this. And anytime I did do that, coming out of it, it turned into something powerful. And again, it sounds a little esoteric, but I think when I go to these meditation retreats and I get an idea through those, it's like direct to source. That's just like a download of like, if you do this thing, it's going to work out for you. So I'm like, all right. And I go and do it. And then successful business.
Yeah.
Successful business. Great business partnership. Great idea for a story. I'll do writing while I'm there. Not supposed to. I break all the rules anyway. So like writing while I'm in there, you get great ideas.
I mean, you can talk about it like getting a direct download from source, and that happens to me often as well. But I think for a lot of people maybe who haven't experienced that exactly, another way of explaining that is these kind of practices just allow you to tap into a stillness which just removes all the noise, right? Yeah. So those messages are probably there all the time, right? It's just removing the distractions and what is not vital to you in those moments.
Yeah.
Which allows
another way we can call it is just sharpening your intuition.
Yeah.
That it doesn't have, if you don't believe it's coming from up there, sure, it could be coming from in here.
Yeah.
And you're just calming all the noise around you that you get from social media and friends and family and other people's opinions and energies and noise pollution and all this shit happening around you. You just soften it and drain it away. And then, okay, what again is really in your heart? What's coming from you? What's your intuition saying?
Which people can do on a day-to-day basis. Like, I mean, I don't check my phone for the first hour in the day, and I don't check it for an hour before I go to bed. Like that's my
I'm on the same boat.
my rule now. And even just doing that is just it just allowed me to, because I'm not a slave to the messages, right? It's like, just because the phone's ringing doesn't mean I need to answer it, right?
It's an important practice.
Yeah.
I got no ringers on my phones. I got no notifications because it's just too invasive.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I'll check my phone quite often. I'm pretty responsive to my messages. But that morning and evening of like just airplane mode is fucking sacred.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do it.
It's powerful, man. It's like, it's something so simple.
Yeah.
Because people are so addicted to the input.
Yeah.
And
I find myself thinking about my phone. Like, if it's just on the table here and I'll be having a conversation with someone, I'll be like, what's my phone doing? Like, it's that ingrained. And I'm having to actually, it's a mindful practice now to be like, put my phone away from me. And also that cleanse I'm on, they're like, don't keep your phone in your pocket next to your balls. And I'm like, okay, it's not good for your, the swimmers down there. So I'm also like trying to keep my phone away from me much more now. It's not next to my head when I sleep, for a couple of years now. I'll have it on the other side of the room on airplane mode, turn it off. Because that thing is a gift and a curse.
Yeah,
I mean, it's messing up our minds.
Yeah,
it's killing a lot of our social interactions. Like in a time of instant messaging and like personal connection, instant connection, we've never been so disconnected with each other. So like, it fucks up being present.
Yeah, it's got the power to do amazing things. Yeah. It's also got the power to destroy us. And the way I kind of think about that is, and anything in life is, what owns me and what do I own? Right. If something is in charge of me that I am addicted to, so I've got to look at that. Like, I've got to soften that. I got to navigate that some way, and I've got to have the awareness of that is happening. Yeah. That's the first thing. And I think most people just don't have the awareness of the things that they're doing every day, which are owning them.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so important. That thing owns us, and that right there is modern day mastery.
Yeah.
Because that's a modern problem. Where we're like, how many Instagram likes did I get? Or, people have Tinder or whatever the hell, all these apps that are just owning them now. And so modern day mastery is these challenges of like, how do I be more mindful with my phone usage and be more present? Whereas like, mastery hundreds of years ago was like, how do I not get eaten by a bear?
Yeah.
we are in different worlds.
Yeah.
We got different problems.
Yeah.
Equally dangerous if you're well, maybe not. But it's ruining our ability to be present. And that's one thing that I saw with that whole holistic thing of when I mentioned before is have good friends around you, is like trying to be actively there with your friends and be actually present, actually listen to them. Don't think about what's happening on your phone and just develop deep bonds, because that's how I've seen. I had this whole thing around like, I shouldn't hire friends, or I shouldn't work with friends. Work with friends because you want to be around people you love, but then you can't have conversations with them that you would as an employee. And I've had to balance this many times. And it took a lot more of like self-work, interrelational self-work, authentic relating, different types of practices to actually be better at working with friends, because it makes you closer if you're able to really be present, really listen to them, really communicate, employ the practices and not blowing up and freaking out, and it's a higher skill level, I'd say, than just hiring just employees and then you can just kind of be super direct with them. The phone's messed that up. That's what I've seen. It's messed up my ability to be as present as I should be.
Yeah.
And be as emotionally intelligent as I should be. I'm half thinking about something else. And then how much are you really being responsive to what people are saying?
Yeah, exactly. In any situation.
In any situation, like in a hard situation.
Yeah, exactly. And that mastery, that mastery is having the awareness to understand how you are in situations rather than, because we see it all the time. There's couples having lunch together and they're just both on their phone.
Look, I see it all the time, and I'm like, I never want to be in a relationship like that.
Yeah.
Like I never want to be even in a friendship like that where we hang out and we're both just on our phones.
Yeah.
And we're out. What are we even eating together?
Boy, if I do it, I'm just excuse me while I just do this.
Yeah. I mean, we got messages. Every entrepreneur knows.
Yeah.
You're gonna have messages coming up. Every entrepreneur probably has that conversation with their significant other, like, hey, I need to be on my phone sometimes. This is what I do for work. This is what pays the bills. If you want to be arrogant about it, which I often do. But I mean, like, sometimes you have to actually be stating, hey, this is coming up for me. I need to handle it.
I mean, that is still being present, right? Because you're just acknowledging the situation for what it is.
I used to have 3 cell phones.
Yeah. That's over the top.
2014, I had 3 cell phones. and it was hectic.
Yeah.
And I'd be up early talking to people across the country. I was, I'd just always be on my phone, and I realized the unhealthy dynamic I had with anybody else I had around me, because this would supersede, all my phones would be in my lap, and this would supersede whatever was happening around me. And I thought that was okay. And then I realized my connections with everybody around me wasn't as strong as I thought it was. And I was doing tons of drugs. And I couldn't figure out why. I thought it was just maybe just, the pressure. I wasn't dealing with all the pressure of the work and all the stuff I was doing it, in a healthy way, which is valid and true. But when I look back at it and unpack it now, it's like, maybe I was actually just not being as connected to myself or the people around me as I probably could have been. And drugs are a buffer for connection.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people do now. These hardcore entrepreneurs, you see like Wolf of Wall Street and stuff like that, where they're just working their asses off and popping pills and snorting lines. And they're like, yeah, the business. You're like, when has there ever been a happy story at the end of this? Yeah. It's always been like divorce and addiction and jail or whatever, car crashes. It's not sustainable. It's glorified. And I bought into the glory of the Hollywood success story of being a multi-millionaire and, multiple cars and all this and that. I never see any of them that are rarely see them that are emotionally happy, fulfilled, yeah. Content, like a proper person. Yeah.
So what are your ambitions? Do you love building the businesses and you want to keep building businesses, or what are your actual ambitions?
What we want to do is build a lot of community in Uluwatu. I just love it down there. And so I just want to build enough businesses where it's a lifestyle that I want to live, things that I love. Yeah. So the businesses are all things that I like and I love.
Do you get distracted by wanting to do big things? Are you
all the time?
Yeah. All the time. So how do you navigate that? How do you find that balance for yourself, or how do you work with that?
It's got to be fun. It's really got to be something worth doing. I notice I could work at a startup like we're doing for Yogi Lab, and we're building this company. Startup culture isn't easy, but it's been fun. I'm working with my best friends, and we're all learning and growing as we do it. Building this business has made me a way bigger, wider human being in sense of my mindset and growth, because of just how much interpersonal conflict and resolution we have consistently. And it's been not fun at times, but we've always been growing and getting closer. Yeah. And so I know it's the right way, because I'm deepening. And
through that depth, do you kind of feel this inner confidence that as long as you stay true to your values and true to that it's all going to unfold beautifully and how it should, and you'll be rewarded and you'll be looked after?
Yeah. It's all going to work out as long as I keep doing the work and become a better person consistently. And that's what really drives me. It's how can I just be smarter? How can I be more intelligent socially and emotionally? And how can I just be happier? Because the happiness is the number one thing. Yeah. So I get such joy out of creation, collaborating, joy, connection. This is what I want to be doing, and I want us to be making an impact. So are we doing compassionate things? Those are all key things that I know tick the boxes for me being happy. So any business that we do has to tick those boxes. Yeah. And if they tick those boxes, it's worth my time and energy doing. Otherwise, I'll just go to a yoga retreat and just do nothing with my time.
So it's never about money.
Yeah, no, but it's got to make.
It's got to be successful.
Yeah,
it's got to have some.
It's got to be successful. It's got to work out, because the energy we put into it has to be valued. Yeah. So absolutely, I want to make money, but I want it to be fun and fulfilling. I'm not going to do stuff that's not going to tick the boxes. I'm not going to do. I tried to do affiliate marketing for a while, and that was the first bubble of that. So maybe that was around 2014, 2013. That was big, and I tried to get into that, and I just couldn't be found. It just. For me, it didn't do it for me.
Because you're a people person and you just love community, connecting with people, connecting people together, and that's your jam.
That's my genius. That's my jam. That's what I love to do. So if people could, but my friends were making $50,000 to $100,000 a month doing affiliate marketing. They're killing it. They're getting Ferraris and they're just doing great. And I was like, oh, but I like Ferraris. But I don't like computers more than I like Ferraris. Or the clickety clack, Amazon fulfillment game. I tried it. And it wasn't.
And are those things sustainable? Are they building life skills and business skills that you're going to be able to, pass on to because what's it going to last? A year, 2 years until that trend is gone, and then
Well, I've seen a lot of these guys adapt, which is cool. But what I love about them, they're super successful, intelligent people. But now they're coming to want to do the Yogi Lab courses and classes. Now those switched on digital nomads want to back up their technical prowess with some actual life skills, spiritual practices, morning routines, high performance. They're on the Tim Ferriss stuff. They're on that stuff. It's like they're switched on. So there is that where it's like they don't have to run themselves into the ground, smashing Red Bulls all night, building ClickFunnels and shit.
Yeah.
They're actually like doing the work behind the scenes and being happy and fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I love that balance. I mean, look at our friends Rhonda and Brian Swan. Those guys, like, they live a happy life. And they're switched on, and they're surfing and drinking wine. They live a great lifestyle. They're hanging, and I look at them, and when I saw how they do it, their family and how they're rolling, it's like I could do that.
Yeah,
and that's it. That's a great lifestyle. I could be tapped in. I could be in with connection, community, and building, but I also live a great lifestyle, and that's what I'm really after. And that's what the whole thing is. It's not so much around wealth; it's more around lifestyle, and that's like the most important thing. I thought was that just live a good life. And have good people around you. Make good friends, keep them close, treat them good.
Yeah, and I think the paradox is when you can dissolve that unconscious need, which is kind of driven from fear to want to make money and trying to make that money. Nobody wants money. Nobody needs money. Like
it's an imaginary thing.
Happiness and freedom. Yeah. It's so attached to that, and when you can dissolve that and like fully embody that, what you're actually wanting is lifestyle and freedom and fulfillment.
Connection.
Well, the paradox is that's when you can actually have more wealth because you're tapping into a greater version of yourself that's going to align to that anyway.
Exactly. When I ever tried to really push something without the right heart behind it, it didn't quite work out the same as just being open and wailing forward. Just let it come to you. And I saw that was the way to do it, is just keep doing what you're good at. Just do you. And it'll come.
So how do you articulate your purpose? Like what's your purpose, Aren? What's your purpose in life?
Again, it's a funny Ubudhi and esoteric thing. I saw this woman. She was kind of like a psychic that I meditated with, and I paid her a bunch of money to figure out what I should do in life. When I first started over, I didn't know. I just really didn't know what to do. And she's like, anything you do, we meditated together. She looks into you. She sees you. Her name's Kelly Oldershaw. She's great. And she's like, you need to align with purpose. Your purpose needs to be compassion, connection, and inspiration. Yeah. So if you do those things in whatever you do, you're going to be happy. Yeah. You need to inspire other people to do the work because you've lived such an arc of a life. You need to inspire them with your story so they can live happier lives. You need to be compassionate. So you need to give in your life. That's important to you. It's from your culture. You need to do selfless giving and you'll be feeling more fulfilled. And you need to connect people. You're a connector. That's just what you do. And I was like, okay, sure. And I still didn't quite know what to do with that. But once I had an idea of like, hey, that's actually what wires me. I need to do those things. Then the plans just kind of fell into place. And I knew what was a yes and what wasn't because it didn't tick those boxes. So
I think where people get lost is they get caught up in the idea that their purpose is a defined vehicle or tool that they're going to pursue, right?
Yeah. No.
And the way I see it is purpose is fleeting. It changes. Yeah. It's dynamic. It changes all the time. Like, there's a theme to it. But if you're so fixated on trying to figure out what your purpose is, well, then you're in the energy of not being able to figure out what your purpose is. Yeah. So the way I explain it is bring purpose to what you're doing in any moment.
I love that.
And you will align to whatever that higher purpose or meaning is.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, because times change, people change, then all of a sudden there's like a global pandemic and what you thought you were going to do isn't what you're going to do anymore. But if your values are the same, I want to do things that align with these things that make me happy, that make my heart sing. Those are important to me. Then no matter what the environment is dictating, you can find your way in that. Yeah. So it's not like my purpose is to be a baker. But you're like, well, what happens if now you're like, you have a gluten intolerance? You just developed a gluten intolerance, but you wanted to serve people and give. You wanted to make people happy and feed them. It's like, well, you can find a way. Yeah. It's more important to find what's in your heart and move through that. This makes my heart sing than my purpose in life is to, do this thing, because that could change. Yeah.
So you mentioned the COVID thing. What's your take on what's happening in 2020? Like,
holy, what a
year. Do you think that the Mother Earth has a greater plan for us, or like what do you think's going on?
Yeah, I mean, again, it might sound a bit fluffy. Yeah. But I think everything's supposed to happen the way it is. As on one end. Energetically, I feel like there's a big shift coming, and we're meant to go through a tough time this year as there's expansion and contraction and businesses and economy and people and our development. We need these times to reshape things, hit a rock bottom, maybe emotionally in the world or whatever the hell's going on, hit that low so then we can reframe and build back up. As many times in our lives, the only time we really grew was when we like hit a low point and had to reassess things and realize, hey, the way we were doing it wasn't quite working. Other than that, who knows if like reptilians are ruling the world and this is their way to enslave us all by
Doesn't really matter.
It's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I have super conspiracy theory friends. One of my business partners is a super conspiracy theory. Brian Kelly used to have radio TV. He's a radio TV personality, and he did like conspiracy theory show. Like, he was a theorist or whatever. So that was his jam. And so I hear his end of it is like, we're being brainwashed and Bill Gates is evil. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay. Like probably I don't know enough about the situations to actually form an opinion around them, because it's a lot of hearsay of what's actually happening around it. All I know is I can handle what I'm doing in my personal bubble and like be a good person, manage what you're doing, be good to the people around you, and just stay safe. And like, okay, I'm not gonna be out there throwing opinions around and do that. I'm just gonna stay in my lane right now and just do what I can do and be a good person. And I hope that's okay. I'm not saying it's the right way to do it, but I knew that was like making me a bit less stressed out about the whole situation. And like I had brick and mortar businesses in Ubud, and we're seeing, a good 90-95% less revenue coming in. It's a hard time. We're just like, shit, this is supposed to be high season. We're supposed to be crushing it right now. And we were definitely not, we're keeping the lights on. And so I noticed that, and it was a time to adapt. It's just like, okay, online Yogi Lab, we're going to help people. They're in their homes, they're quarantined, they need practices, they need things to level them up, they need things that will help them feel more powerful, boost their immune systems, do breath work. We have 8 courses coming out right now, like put out courses and classes, shift to online. I'm writing a book now.
And are you kind of observing that in the market there's a greater demand for these kind of practices, and people being at home, they've either got the choice, like we can sit there and watch the news and eat Doritos, or we can do something useful with this time, and we can learn yoga, we can learn these practices, we can learn meditation, we can read more, we can do these things. Are you seeing a greater appetite for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, absolutely. People are home and people are going to start wanting to make better choices for themselves. Maybe not better, but they want to go down the health path, right? Instead of getting drunk at 10 a.m. And you saw a lot of that wine o'clock. I saw a bunch of people the first week of quarantine, a bunch of people were posting like they're just getting drunk, all day. Yeah. Tuesday, 10 a.m.
I didn't see these.
I saw some of that back in my old days.
Might be a Canadian thing.
Maybe. You Aussies drink.
The Aussies.
And I was just like, oh shit, okay, that's a reality somewhere. But if we're here showing that, like, hey, we're not going to let that overly stress us out. We're going to keep putting out positive things for people to take part of if they want to. It's helping our lives be a lot better. And, when this whole thing started coming on the island, there was a choice to either like super freak out about it or just maintain, what you're up to. And I was like, okay. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and she was quite concerned about it, like really concerned about it. She was feeding in all the information from all the chat groups, and it was stressing me out hearing her stress out about it. So I dumped her. Just horrible joke. I hope she doesn't watch this. No. So I told her, look, I need to we're going to get prepared. Like, you know what, look, I'll get prepared for us. I'll buy a couple months supply of food just in case things break down. I'll buy some weapons just in case motherfuckers want to rob us. I got a crowbar, it's cool. I actually did this just in case. Yep. Now I'm prepared. I'm not going to freak out anymore. Yeah. My mindset around it is what happens. I'm prepared for the worst. But I'm not going to expect it, but I'm prepared for it. And I'm
let's not keep buying into that.
I don't want to hear any of it anymore. I'm done. I don't want to hear any of it anymore. I've made a choice. I'm going to stay here on the island. I made a choice. I'm going to be good no matter what happens. I'm going to make choices of which situations happen. Again, I'm aligning to my values. And if the environment around me is dictating to act this way, I'll act that way, and I'll handle that. But I'm not going to sit here and freak out when it's not the case to right now. And I had to kind of like hammer that home into her. And it didn't work out.
Yeah. And I think in these current times, like that's a very magnified, amplified kind of version. Yeah. But if you really think about it, like that's an important message for how people, should be running their lives anyway, right? Because people can get so caught in these loops, and it's drama, getting caught in drama. And when you're stuck in these loops of drama, you can't see reality of you can't create your own reality because you're just caught in this loop of drama.
And that loop.
Yeah.
And so when I'm bringing it back to the practice, the morning practice stuff, much like I went and got prepared for the pandemic, just in case some shit,
Yeah.
Every morning, if you drop into the
Meditation
practice,
is doing that
that's
exactly.
it. That's it. I'm doing my practice every morning. It takes about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. That's a long one because I do a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
But short form, if you just have 1 hour, get up, move, meditate, and maybe do some reading. Just hit those things. Just just those 3 things in the morning, and then that's your care package, just in case anything happens that day. You know you've already done that, and you can act in a bit of a better way because you built that building block of like, I can handle a business, I can handle if I need to fire an employee, I can handle in case there's a global pandemic, I can handle if it's a good day. Anything happens, I've nailed that first morning building block. That's gonna help me just be better.
Yeah,
I've got my food supplies, my crowbar, morning practice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I've got one. I'll finish with one last question, but before I do that, I just want to acknowledge it because what I'm hearing, what I'm observing is that you've got a way of connecting with I was going to say the average person, but you've got a way of communicating which can connect with so many different levels of people, right? And you've got these spiritual practices, and you're doing these cool things in Bali. You're very impact driven. You're driven by community and making the world a better place, and just being a good dude, as you call it. So I acknowledge you for that and being a real example for that. And so just keep being a good dude.
I appreciate. I'm just a dude. Like that's the thing is I've lived a very full spectrum.
Because we can kind of look at some people and put them on pedestals and go, oh, he's a spiritual guru, and it's too far, right? It's almost like it's too far. It's like we're just average dudes.
Average dudes, and I just really want people to see that if a dude like me did it, like it's available. Yeah, it's possible. I completely shifted and changed my life, and it's available to anybody. You just go and do it, and say no to a lot of things, and it works. And I'm really happy that people can resonate with that because I tell it in a way that's authentic for me. I didn't exactly get the best education. I got an education more around the corner, on the block type of thing. And if I'm able to become a more deep human being from these practices, I think a lot of people will benefit from them.
Yeah,
I'm the extreme case.
Yeah, but also being the example for tapping into your, finding what your gift and your ability is, and being able to use that for the good of the world. So that's awesome. So closing question: if you had a one-time superpower, which is mental telepathy, you could connect with everybody on the planet, all 7.6 billion or whatever we are now.
Oh, wow.
Without the language, without any language barriers, you had the ability to connect one message to everybody via the mind. Wow. What would that message be?
PayPal me money right now. There's my account number. You can just send me cash.
It's on the screen.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just fucking around. Honestly, it would have to be the very cliche yogi thing of like we are one, and everyone needs to know like, hey, we're all one organism here. We're all actually one species. We are one, and just hammer that home to everybody to see that a lot of this us versus they mentality that we have. I know we're quite tribal, societal people. It's not quite like that anymore. Now we're one big global economy, one big global. Not race, but we're one big global community.
And we're disconnected from that. We kind of have the big city mindset, and we're disconnected from the village community kind of thing, that we all look after each other.
Exactly.
And,
so I think if a lot of us just looked after each other, there should be enough to go around.
Yeah. And
a lot of the problems that we have of us versus they and greed could really actually subside. And if that one message was strong enough, like it would come through. If I could do the telepathy thing, it would come through like a humongous, like ayahuasca type of like realization. God, everybody would be on the ground crying, looking at the sky, looking at it. And you are one, you are one, you are one. And they'd be like, oh my God, I love everybody right now. And that's exactly how it would happen. And then everybody would be hugging and singing and dancing, and the borders would break down, and people would stop warring, and Palestinians and Israel, everybody would just be like, yo, hugs, and then see what would happen through the world at that point, and also take care of the planet. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for being a guest. And I'll make sure everybody's got access to you, and follow this guy on Instagram.
Thank you.
And check out yogilab.com.
Yes.
Make sure everybody's got the link. So thanks very much, man. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.
I hope I was enough without caffeine.
You definitely.